Welcome to Fly on the Wall, a podcast where you have the opportunity to listen in on a live coaching conversation. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And now for today's episode.
Welcome to Fly on the Wall. Today we're talking with Pastor Brandon Bennett from New Mexico, and we're talking about how to create balance in family and ministry. Let's join the coaching conversation.
Man, how can I serve you today? What's on your mind?
Well, just wanting to get with you. And again, I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that with coaching and stuff like that, I appreciate all that you've been investing into myself and to our team, and look forward to some great things coming. You know, one of the questions that I always ask every individual that I love to glean from is wisdom. And one of the things that I like to learn is that things that what you have experienced in your life, to where if you could ask or give advice, to your younger version of yourself, what would be some good nuggets that you would share, especially for individuals that are of a young state that are growing and developing, so that way you can glean from some wisdom. So that would be one of the first and foremost that I just wanted to pose to you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love that question. Man, the things that I would say to my younger self, I think I would look at it, Brandon, as some of the things that mistakes I've made or things that I wish I would have done differently. I would say the first one is I would say to myself to stay focused. I have a tendency of getting excited about the new shiny thing in ministry, or an idea or a concept. And I think there's a few times where the result would have been, I think, a lot better had I just stayed focused, rather than, okay, now I'm going to go do this, and now I'm going to go do this, and now I'm going to go do this. It's the person that tries the diet, and they go to the next one, or the person that works out, but then there's a new way of working out, then a new way of working out. And it's like, and then they stop, and then they go, and it would probably just be a lot better if you just were consistent. And I think I'm, rather than just being consistent with, okay, these are the lanes, this is the way I end up adding a fourth lane and a fifth lane and a sixth lane to my life. And I wish I would have just, there's seasons where I felt like I chased new lanes and I should have stayed in the lanes I was in. I didn't leave those lanes. I just added more lanes, which dilutes your strength. So I think that would be one thing for sure. The other thing that I would say to myself, I remember one specific season where I felt like I was, I'm leading a church, we're growing, things are going great. And then, you get to a point where certain people start to complain, they have issues, they want appointments with you. You don't want to lose them. You don't want to lose their influence. You don't want to lose the resources that they help to provide. And so as a result, you find yourself chasing something to appease them, I'll start the new program, I'll start the new Bible study, I'll do whatever I got to do to appease this group, versus staying true to who you are and what you do. I wish I would have done that better. I wish I would have stayed more true to the calling and to the mission, rather than bowing or giving in to a few squeaky wheels that didn't like something for a certain reason or whatever. I wish I would have just stayed true to it. One of my friends, he's got a very large church. A few years back, we were in the green room at a big event. We were both speaking at a very large event, and he said in one of his versions of membership, he doesn't do membership, does like partnership or whatever, but he has this whole list of, here are 10 reasons why we're not the church for you. So before anybody says that's their church home, let me give you 10 reasons why we're not the church for you. And what he's really saying is, hey, before you marry us, it's easier to get a divorce before you get married. So before you decide to marry us and become part of us, here's 10 things that you need to know. And no matter how much you complain, it ain't going to change. This is who we are. And if that's not for you, that's great. There's another church down the street for you, but we're not the one. And that's gutsy, but I admire that. Like, this is who we are. That's just not for you. That's cool. versus let's get them involved, let them gain influence. 3 years down the road, they start complaining. Then you finally got to draw the line, and then they get upset and they take their toys and their friends with them. Like, why not just say it up front and not do that? So I wish I would have stayed in my lanes a little bit better. I wish I would have been more true to the mission, vision, strategy, values, all that, rather than leaning or bowing. I wish I would have done that. I would add one more real quick, and that is, which I wrote a book, came out a couple months ago, my newest book, Saving Your Church from Itself. That is written from hearing a million stories from coaching guys that go through the pain of when one of their staff member goes toxic and goes sideways on them. And it comes from my own pain. I wish I would have done what that book says to do more often in my life. And that is to recognize the early signs of drifting and the early signs of toxic and deal with it. Because on a few different occasions, I think I let it go too long. I wish I would have dealt with it earlier. So there you go. There's 3 big things I would have done differently. And I think that, I hope young pastors that are listening take this into consideration, because if you can stay in those 3 things I talked about and learn from them, probably save yourself a lot of heartache.
Yeah, absolutely. I had heard one time that individual was saying that with ministry, your threshold of tolerance has to grow along with it, because ministry is not for the faint of heart.
Nope.
But being able to glean from wisdom of that's one of the things that, as just relating to me, of that I have learned over my life, is many different questions asked about longevity, staying in, things that you learn. I think you can learn of just as many things of where people had to jump some hurdles in ministry as much as success.
Right.
So that way you can actually not have to experience some pain.
Right.
But one of the greatest quotes I ever heard is that I've learned a lot of things of what not to do.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I got a whole, people ask me what to do. I'm like, what not to do? I've got about 150 of those, because I did them and messed up and created additional pain for myself, problems. Yeah, absolutely.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, let me shoot another one across your bow there. What helps to keep balance and focus with family and ministry, to keep family and ministry healthy?
Yeah, that's I think first is I think it's a great question. I think it's a great question, because I think a lot of guys face burnout sometimes. They feel like quitting. We're having a massive amount of pastors quit more than ever before right now. We're in a season of that. I mean, all you have to do is Google clergy's leaving ministry, and you'll find articles from secular people to Christian people. It's amazing how much that's happening. So great question. I do think first, the awareness that it has to happen. You have to know that. I think secondly, I think you have to be aware of it. I think it's an important part of it. I think you have to have some pretty clear boundaries of when things start and stop. I think you have to realize that you are a priest to your home first.
Yeah.
Above anything else, you're a priest to your home first. I am a huge baseball fan. Been to all 30 stadiums, as you know, and love baseball. So I watched this. I think it's on Netflix. I watch this Netflix thing about Nolan Ryan called Facing Nolan. And if you haven't seen it, it's really good. And really, really good. And, the guy's got like 51 different records that he holds, and the most shutouts, the most strikeouts. I mean, the guy's got, ever in history. So no one's ever accomplished the stuff that he's accomplished. Anyway, so now he's, I don't know, in his late 60s or something, 70s, I don't know. And he's interviewing like they're interviewing his adult son, adult daughters, whatever. And one of the daughters said something. She said, we would go and watch my dad play. Rangers or I think played for the Rangers and the Astros, but we watch my dad play. And we'd sit in the audience, and watch him play or whatever. And then we go out into the family area or whatever, and wait for him to come out of the locker room or wait for whatever. And she said, sometimes he would be the last to come out, and sometimes it would be 30 more minutes before he'd come out. The last person would come out, it'd be 30 more minutes than he would come out. Wow. The interviewer person said, why does he do that? Well, and then they said, well, because he's waiting to make sure that all his nerves are calm, that he's totally relaxed. So when he comes out, he is dad and husband and not baseball player.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let's take that. Let's move that over to ministry. When I'm home, I'm dad and husband. I'm not Pastor so-and-so. I'm not talking about the problems. I'm not talking about the issues. And the fact that he had to wait inside of a locker room for an hour, the family had to wait for this guy, for Nolan Ryan, their dad, to come out, was funny that he would make them wait, but also I think brilliant, because he was separating the two. I got to be dad and husband. I can't be come in, talk about the baseball game, talk about the umpire, talk about what went wrong, talk about what the manager said to him, talk about the coach said to him. He comes out and the daughter said, never talk about baseball. Never would talk about the manager, the coach, the umpire. This when he was with us, he was dad and husband. And I just think that is such a brilliant thing for us to learn from on how to keep that balance. Yeah,
That's so good.
yeah,
That's so powerful, because you think about how that in longevity with ministry, that if, scripturally, if a man can't handle his own home well, how can he handle the house of God?
that's right.
Then you have the potency. It's if you're bringing the hard stuff home, like one of the greatest lessons I ever learned was from Rick Warren, when he said, I got a special place for all of the things that go on in ministry right outside the door before I go inside the home. It says all the counseling sessions, all the hard meetings, all of the things that transpire. He says, I named it the spot. And he says, I put it in the spot because he made the decision that anytime he goes in and out of that door, he can choose to pick it up as he's leaving, but he chooses not to carry it in.
Yeah.
How powerful is
That
that?
is so good. Yeah, I love that. And that may just be a symbol, maybe a plant on your front porch that you just touch when you walk in, and you're like, I'm touching this because I'm putting it at this spot, and I'm not pastor, minister, counseling, problem with the board. I'm now dad and husband. And such a great reminder for all of us to keep that in balance, because success outside the home will never compensate for failure within it.
Absolutely.
And so it's good.
That's so powerful. Yeah. I would much rather win at home in private than I would in public.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'd rather see my
That's
family.
good. Excellent. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna shoot another one across you, Brown. What would be what would be the difference of just your wisdom? What would you say the difference between leading and leading well?
Leading and leading well. That's great. Wow. That's a good question. Leading and leading well. Well, first thing that would come to my mind is I would view it from the eyes of the follower. They follow you because they have to, or they follow because they want to. I think that's a big difference. I think people can get caught in a church, or caught in a ministry, or caught in a business, an organization. And, on a business side, you kind of have to follow the guy because he's the boss and you need a job. On the church side, I guess you could find another church, but your kids are already involved there and you really love it. And it's close by your house. And so, you're trying to honor God, but you're not really thrilled about following this leader. And you do it more because you have to, rather than doing it because you want to. And I think that's really the difference between leading from a position of dictator or authority, or leading from a position of influence. If you lead from a position of authority, or kind of a dictator type of a thing, then I think you get compliance. And that's another thing. I think if you're more of that dictator, or you're you're the leader and you're leading, but you're strong, maybe a little bit rude, maybe a little bit, not caring, you're not encouraging, you're not thinking about all that stuff. You're leading from that dictating, from that authority. I'm leading from a position of authority, like I'm in charge. You're going to get compliance. The problem is you're going to get compliance and you're going to think you have alignment. Wow. Because from authority, you get compliance. From influence, you get alignment. And when you get compliance, you confuse it with alignment. Hey, They all love me. No one's complaining. They appreciate me. They all sing my praises. Yeah, in front of you because you signed their check as a staff member, but they're not aligned with you. So I'd view it from the follower. You have to or you want to. And then I would view it and I would ask the person leading. I think leading is, I'm the authority. I'm leading and I got compliance. Okay, I'm leading well. Leading well is I'm leading from a position of influence and I don't have compliance. I have alignment. I think that's completely different. And I think you can confuse compliant with alignment if you're not careful. You can be very blind to it. But that's how I would view that. I think there's a difference between leading and leading well. Leading is you've got the badge that says you're the leader. Okay. People follow you because they have to. Okay. They comply because they have to. Okay. Or no, they want to, and they're aligned with you, and they'll climb the hill with you. I think that's completely different. And how you get there might be a little bit different as well, but it is very different between leading and truly leading well.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
I was spending time in Philippians chapter 1 and verses 7 through 9. But I was just reading how Paul, he was ministering to his disciples, the people he's talking about taking the gospel to the nations. And he was talking about how that when some preach, sometimes it puts shame on his shackles.
Yeah.
But as you do it with love, that accelerates the gospel, which spoke so many volumes, the same way that you were sharing with me of leading and leading well, is the gospel just for my own consumption, so that others follow me, or is it portrayed through love so that others can win in a relationship with him?
Yeah.
So selfless versus selfish. That from leading well. Thank you so much. That was powerful.
Yeah.
Just to keep that balance within itself.
Yep. It is, and I think, finding that, and how you lead or lead well. You can't lead from title. I'm the boss, I'm the authority. You have to lead from influence. If you want to grow a church, you want to move it in the right way, and you want it to be healthy, you have to do that. And I think you have to, I think it's always interesting to step back and really wonder, what's it like to be on my team? What do people actually think and feel and say when I'm not around? And I think, one of the greatest jobs of any leader is to define reality. I think you got to define that reality. Are you leading from authority, or are you leading from influence? Are you getting compliance, or are you getting alignment? Because they're completely different. So, yeah, cool, man. Anything else on your mind today?
Let's see. As far as that, great dialogue. I appreciate that. Thank you for the wisdom drops, and it still keeps standing out to me in my mind of the question that you posed to us when we did our staff meeting together.
Yeah.
Of what do you, when you observe yourself to make the necessary adjustment, what do you feel brings or attracts people to you, or repels people from you?
Yeah.
So it's a constant reminder in just my life of how that I want to accelerate so much more, and being in the uncomfortable zone as far as stretching and growing of what God has me to be.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Yeah. And I'll wrap up our time here today with, I think, putting those two together. You've got, okay, are you leading from a position of influence or authority? Are you getting compliance? Are you getting alignment? Okay, now then how do you actually get that? And I think you have to ask those tough questions. It's like, are people compelled to me or repelled? Do I attract people to me, or do I not attract people to me? Do people want to stay away from me? And being that attractional leader, I think you have to balance care and candor. I think you have to be a person of encouragement. I think you have to bring out the best in them. I think you have to be, as my friend Doug Grasick says, be a leader worth following. And be the kind of leader that you would want to follow. Encouraging, inspiring, caring, wanting the best, helping you, resourcing you, believing in you, balancing care and candor, care being, I care about you, I love you, let me encourage you, but candor being, I want to be honest with you too, but in a right way, in right tone, but I need to be honest, because if you don't have care and candor, you're going to have unhealth. But being that attractional leader is such an important thing, and learning to have people gravitate to you and being that a leader that people just want to be around. So, well, man, dude, it's always great hanging out with you. Appreciate you, dude. And
yes, sir. Appreciate you. And
yeah,
I'm sure we'll be visiting here again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, man. Have a good day, buddy.
You too, sir. Take care.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for stopping by today. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to be on the lookout for more podcasts from Fly on the Wall. See you next time.